grade 9 students. How are you today? I hope you are all well and ready for today's lesson. I am your teacher broadcaster and I welcome you to Quarter 3 in Health Module 2. Our topic will guide you in assessing emergency situation for unintentional injuries. Along with this, you will also learn a lot of important information which is necessary and useful. So take time to listen and enjoy watching while we learn together. Before we start, I would like to know how far you know about the assessing emergency situation for unintentional injuries. Specifically, this topic seeks to achieve the following. Number 1, identify factors affecting unintentional injuries. Number 2, assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situation. Are you ready? Now, let us start learning. Look at the picture shown on the screen. What do you think is this picture? Correct. It is a boy who is drowning. What about this image? Yes, a crashed car. This picture says what? Right, a girl who is cooking and burned her hands. Now, as you describe the images shown, what do you call these kind of scenarios? Yes, you get it right. It's what we call accidents. Accidents happen due to unavoidable circumstances. It could happen anywhere and anytime, even in the comforts of your home. According to Department of Health, accidents is 7 out of the top 10 leading cause of deaths in the Philippines, and vehicular accidents being the most common accident that occurs. Everyone is at risk of unintentional injuries. That is why it is important for an individual to know how to assess them, at the same time deal with them in emergency situations in order these injuries from getting worse. This lesson will describe unintentional injuries and give methods or ways to assess it in emergency situations. This module will give learners an adequate knowledge towards basic methods in assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations so that they will be prepared in this kind of situations. So, are you ready? I want you to do your best in accomplishing the task required. Please feel free to ask assistance from any family members if you find the task hard for you. But still, I encourage you to work independently. Good luck! Let's try this. The activity is word bank. Instruction: choose the word from the word bank below and try to identify whether if it is an intentional and intentional injury. Write your answer in the box provided. How did you find the task? I am sure you find it a bit difficult. Maybe because some of the words are not familiar with you. I guess it is time for you to refresh your memory. Do not worry about your answers. It was just a simple recall to test you on how good your memory is. Now that you recall the difference between intentional and unintentional injuries, I am sure that you are ready to proceed. But before that, may I ask you the following questions? Number 1, based on the activity, what are the unintentional injuries mentioned? Yes, poisoning, drowning, suffocation, fall, burns, and vehicular crashes. Number 2, did you experience this kind of injuries? I hope not. That is why it is a need for us to know and learn these things. These elements are important factors that causes and assess unintentional injuries during emergency situations. Now, I want you to focus on some points to ponder and expound beyond. First, let us talk about the factors that causes unintentional injuries. Under the unintentional injuries, we have number 1, environmental factors. The environmental factors leading to injuries are often associated with other environmental health risks. For example, home and school construction. And furnishing materials can lead to unintentional injuries. And poisoning may result from exposure to chemicals unsafely used or stored. Number 2, community factors. Under these are rural areas. Unintentional injuries are related mainly to farming activities, pesticide poisoning, and drowning. Most injuries are traffic-related or linked to gadgets and electrical appliances. Falls or poisoning resulting from household chemicals and pharmaceuticals ingested by small children. Next is the methods in assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations. Number 1, when you assess and control the situation, first thing to do is observing the emergency scene and remaining calm is the first thing you should do. Next is look and see who is at the emergency scene. Find out what others at the scene are doing. If anyone is in danger or hurt, you should immediately take charge of the situation since people tend to panic in emergency situations if they see someone who is injured. If you feel you are able to help, take steps to lead and delegate those around the emergency scene. And finally, when people crowd around the victim, make sure to inform them to give some space so that the victim has enough space to breathe. Number 2, call 911. In the Philippines, 911 is the national emergency telephone number for the Philippines. It is managed by the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, and is also referred to by its official name, Emergency Network Philippines, or ENP. For unintentional injuries, emergency medical services is a system that provides emergency medical care. Once it is activated by an incident that causes serious illness or injury, the focus of EMS is emergency medical care of the patients. Number 3, assessing the environment. Identifying known hazards could prevent further casualties. Examples include the risk of electricity and fast-moving water. Mobilize the victim to a safer area to avoid any further injuries. Number 4, assessing the injured. After mobilizing the victim to a safer area, assess the victim if she is responsive or unresponsive. The following are ways to assess the injured. Perform the primary and secondary survey to rapidly identify and manage impending or actual life threats to the victim. If bleeding occurs, place a sterile bandage or clean cloth on the wound. Press the bandage firmly with your palm to control bleeding. Don't put direct pressure on an eye injury or embedded object. If dislocation occurs, don't move the joint until you receive help. Splint the affected joint into its fixed position. Number 5, know your limits. The last thing you should do in an emergency situation is to wait for professional assistance. Securing the surrounding from risks that could further harm the victim should be your priority while waiting for medical assistance. To further understand assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations, this time, be ready to take higher tasks. I am sure that you got the knowledge already again. I am sure that you got the knowledge already about assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations. Good luck! So let us practice. The activity is tell me more. Direction, create a real-life scenario and describe an intentional injury in an emergency situation and ways to assess it. Write your answer in the box provided. You did a good job creating a real-life scenario and describing the unintentional injuries in how you assess the emergency situation. Remember this. Environmental factors leading to injuries are often associated with other environmental health risks, such as poisoning from exposure to chemicals unsafely used or stored, and injuries caused by poor household construction. Community factors includes A. Rural areas, including farming activities, pesticide poisoning, and drowning. And B. Urban areas, including urban traffic-related or falls or poisonings resulting from household chemicals. For assessment, here's a question for you. As a youth of this generation, how can you apply your knowledge in assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations in real-life scenarios? Once again, as a youth of this generation, how can you apply your knowledge in assessing unintentional injuries in emergency situations in real-life scenarios? Yes, you get an idea. Accidents are unavoidable circumstances that could happen anytime, and injuries are one of its results. That is why it is crucial to know how to aid it immediately to avoid it from getting worse. Today, you're able to describe the factors and ways to assess unintentional injuries in emergency situations. Having the basic knowledge and awareness on this topic, as a youth of today's generation, it is important that you apply it in case of emergencies, whether it will be in your home or in school. In addition, by having basic knowledge in assessing unintentional injuries, you can also share your knowledge with other people, especially in vulnerable situations. Congratulations, grade 9 students! I am happy that you have learned a lot and finished the tasks and activities given to you. This is Teacher Lynette, your teacher broadcast.